Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining me today. Many years ago, I worked at a bank. We had different departments. Our floor was filled with cubicles, each occupied by an employee, but we could still see each other. If I stood up from my desk, I could see everyone's head as they got busy with what they were doing. One day, about 10 to 12 cubicles away from me, a coworker stood up and announced, "Michael Jackson died." I could hear people in the background gasping, "Oh no." We were stunned. No, it can't be. Michael Jackson can't be dead. I felt the same way when I heard about Lady Diana or Kobe Bryant's death years ago. The passing of celebrities has a unique way of affecting us, almost as if we've lost someone we knew personally. But why is that? Maybe because we get to be more aware as the outlets talk about them all the time. They feel like they're part of our life. Yet, in reality, we never knew or met them in person, or they did not know us. The following Sunday, as I was preparing the projector for the church singing, one of our teenage Sunday school kids walked in and said, "Michael Jackson is dead." Once again, the collective response was one of sadness, with murmurs and expressions of disbelief filling the room. Everyone seemed to be talking about it. But then, during the service, the pastor made a point that I believed helped us think. He said, "Yes, we've talked about Michael Jackson, but what about Donna? Did anyone know she just passed away? Did anyone talk about Donna?" Donna was one of church members that John and I just visited at the hospital. She had lived a very difficult life. I learned that her family had been involved in a tragic fire years ago. She had lost her child in the blaze. I could imagine life was never the same for her since the loss. It's okay to feel sadness and empathy for the loss of some famous people. We are moved by their stories and the experiences they share with the world. These losses can teach us valuable lessons about life, fame, and the impact one person can have on many. But it's important to remember that there are also people in our lives, or some we may come across with every day, who may be silently struggling with their own pain and challenges. Sometimes we become so caught up in the big, visible ones that we miss the struggles and victories happening right in front of us. Okay, in the second part of this podcast, I wanted to reshare a short story John wrote a long time ago. I will read for you. A Homeless Man and a Butterfly. At our church's food distribution, two homeless men, Earl and Tony, were waiting outside to receive food. I overheard Earl say to Tony, "There's your butterfly." When Tony heard that, he smiled a large, toothless smile. I said, "Oh, yeah, I saw that butterfly about an hour ago." Earl told me that their butterfly was different and that this was definitely their butterfly. Tony had seen the butterfly convulsing on the sidewalk, being overran by ants. He picked it up very gently, directed the ants to leave the butterfly by herding them, also gently, onto his hand and eventually up his arm. He did this while carefully not touching and removing the very fragile protective powder, as Tony called it, which is on the butterfly's wings. He then placed the butterfly on the leaf of a tree in front of the church. This beautiful but vulnerable insect was once again fluttering in the skies, bringing glory to God and joy to his people. This was possible because of a toothless, homeless man's gentle care, which made it even more beautiful to me. Remember that Jesus told us to look at the ravens in the sky And consider the lilies of the field. I wonder how many of us would have even noticed a butterfly struggling for its life against the horde of ants on an urban sidewalk. I wonder how many of us would have stopped our hurried walk to who knows where to reach down and pick it up while getting dirty with dozens of ants crawling all over our hands and arms. I wonder how many of us would have then placed the butterfly on a leaf of a nearby tree and spent 10 to 15 minutes near that tree to watch the butterfly come fully to life. Probably not many of us, because we are talking about dirty sidewalks and insects. For God's sake, our life is too busy and complicated for that stuff. Tony was homeless, with nothing else to do. Tell him to forget about the bugs and get a job. The key phrase in the above paragraph is, for God's sake. That is why Tony did it. Maybe he saw himself in that insect being overran by ants. In his present condition, Tony can't help many people, but he could help that insect, and he did. Maybe he saw more than an insect, but he also saw a beautiful butterfly struggling to fly. And maybe when that butterfly flew, a portion of Tony's soul also soared. Thanks for listening. Join us in our next episode of Lilies and Ravens podcast. God bless.